Somebody has to. I think it's very hard to tell. It's very context dependent. So it depends on the company. But I think one problem I have with change programs in general is that they're always watered down, and they're always compromised massively by the middle management, by what they're given as a leadership context, etc. And so I think what's sometimes useful is to start from two ends at the same time. So begin with an ideal state. Say, okay, what's our business? How do we make money? How do we create value? What role do people have in that? What role do our teams have in that? And look at sort of tabula rasa. If you were a startup, how would you do this? How would you organize yourself? And then at the same time, begin from the reality of your teams, your departments, your silos, your politics, your internal realities, and then look at the direction of travel, the velocity of that direction of travel, and how that can change, and then somehow try and bring the two together. I think there are areas where it's cheaper, faster, and more effective to begin again, as if you were a startup, because the amount of useless process, cruft, politics, and nonsensical, lazy middle management individuals that many of these companies are carrying is often too much to give them, a credible future. It depends on the business. There are businesses that, can operate very effectively with large, unproductive workforces, and there are others who can't. So I think it's really depends on the context, but it's good to start from both ends, I would say.
Thank you. Please.
Myself, if I may, I'm going to take perhaps a different perspective because I'm a cost accounting professor. I'm a financial accounting, and I'm specialized in dashboard, management control system, incentives, performance measurement, standards, objective settings, and variance analysis. So I was very pleased to hear your two presentations because you talked about the corporate auditing company people being perhaps endangering this kind of process, and if you may, so at the end of your presentation, you said that okay, I talked about all these things about leadership and so on, but if you summarize everything, it's about incentives and management incentive dashboard. What did you say? Managerial dashboard for the managers and so on. So there is something about the positive role, perhaps normative, but positive role of finance, accounting procedures and so on. So my point would be perhaps to add to this discussion the thing that for many of us here, we're believing that financial accounting systems, information systems are going against social cooperation, against management 2.0, against this kind of thing. It's they are enemies of this kind of thing. And what is strange is from my community, my perspective, we are very happy to hear about this kind of thing because we are believing that we were the first one who built the social collaboration because budgeting in the beginning of the 20th century was the first social cooperation in a company trying to put people together to talk about organization. So, but accounting and budgeting was based on this kind of thing. And so sometimes we are very concerned about the fact that we are shown as enemies of social cooperation. And so my point, perhaps for you, both of you, would be, what is your concern about, the positive role of accounting standards, controlling system, budgeting, incentives, measurements, quantification, financialization, and so on, in the building of a strong social cooperation and a richer set of relations in companies? So I would just want to say, accounting is perhaps not our enemy.
If I can answer also as a cost accountant by training. The three examples within finance that I would draw upon. The first was a guy called Antoine Lam, who was responsible for the investment committee within Atos. The investment committee is very important because there's lots of capital projects that take place and it has a lot of attention, but it was a very disparate group of people that would come together from time to time. He was one of the first people, in fact, even before social collaboration, before the social collaboration tool was chosen, to work out a way of bringing people together in a more organized way, and meant that Michel-Alain Proche, who's the group CFO, was actually very positively disposed and said, look, the thing that really, if I could solve this, I would make a massive improvement to my life, would be if we can collaborate socially in the new business process, which is very familiar, I'm sure, if you're not in a service organization. A funnel process for product development would be similar, where you have groups of people that come together from time to time, new teams forming and disbanding, long bids, short bids, but a regulated approval process. So one of the major achievements is to get that process mixing. It can't just rely on social collaboration. Here you'd have to mix social collaboration with knowledge management and with the governance of a gated review process. So you've got the new business process, you've got the investment process, and then the last one is the purchasing department collaborating. All three of those are directly under the control of the CFO. And if he can do it, again, it's an example, leading by example. The rest of the organization can too.
If I understood your is it okay? Yeah. If I understood your question right, is does these functions like auditing, controlling, budgeting, and so make sense in such an environment? And you can also expand this to security functions. And I can share with you one example in a reverse mentoring program. I had to interview the mentees about their experience in the program. What have they learned? Do they like the program? Do they like social collaboration? And I did a very interesting interview with one person. I failed to look at his job charter, because at the end he told me, I'm a security officer in our company. And this was at the end of the interview, and then I asked him, now what is your impression as a security officer, hearing a lot of this social media and social collaboration things? In fact, it was worse than I ever thought for me. But it's interesting, we have to work on this. And I think that's the right way, that these functions which are essential for a company, if you would not use it, so they are not here. Now also get a point where they can into the discussion and say, okay, I'm a security officer, but I can bring my knowledge into this and that point. I'm an accounting person, I can bring it in this point, an auditing person. And for me, this is a way where the transformation now really starts, when these functions takes the Enterprise 2.0 game a little bit more serious.
Okay, thanks for all of you. It would have stand for a lot of time again, but it's time to end this panel. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.